Senna, PK, Stewart, Verstappen. Well done, mate, you're making history.
Max Verstappen is in the prime of his F1 career, and the records speak for themselves.
In mixed conditions it was more wet than dry. Per lap 2 seconds and more quicker than anybody else.
His technically proficient driving has led to 41 wins out of 56 races since the start of the 2022 season. It's clear that the Red Bull driver rarely makes mistakes, but not everything has been smooth sailing. There were moments when Verstappen was surprisingly off his game, struggling with the car and the track. We can call these his worst drives. But before we dive into that, let's take a look at 3 of Max Verstappen's best drives since his F1 debut. 2023 Miami Grand Prix. Now, this was the only race we picked from 2023, and trust me, there were plenty. The RB19 was in a league of its own last season. Heading into the Miami Grand Prix, all the buzz was about Sergio Perez. The Mexican driver had snagged 2 wins out of the first 4 races and clinched pole position in Miami.
In the weekend, it's Perez on pole.
Well done, Checo, that's pole position off that red flag. Well done, mate.
With Max Verstappen starting all the way back in 9th, it seemed like the perfect chance for Perez to grab the championship lead and prove he could truly challenge the 2-time champ. Verstappen didn't take kindly to this. Starting from P9, he went to work, carving his way through the pack.
And for Formula One in Miami, it's race on! And we've got a good getaway for Perez. He chops across Alonso and he maintains the lead.
And then he bided his time. He was patient. He could afford to be patient.
Yeah, he can. He knows the pace is in the car, and the DRS is working for him. It's not so easy for them to pass down this back straight. It is on the limit under braking. He did some amazing moves under braking.
Within just 15 laps, he was already second, trailing his teammate by less than 4 seconds. Perez pitted, but Verstappen kept pushing on his old tyres, only switching 12 laps from the end. Despite running so long on worn rubber, he emerged right behind Perez. 2 laps later, Max blasted past him to seize the lead and the win.
The ball's wheel to wheel and round the outside. Will it be the lead? It's close between the 2 of them. The crowd are roaring and Max Verstappen takes the lead of the Miami Grand Prix.
The message was clear. I'm number 1. From that point, Verstappen went on to win 16 more races in 2023, while Perez won none. His form vanished for nearly 6 months. Miami was more than a victory, it was a psychological knockout punch. 2022 Belgian Grand Prix. Love him or loathe him, Max Verstappen spent 2022 showing the world exactly why he deserved that number 1 on his car. With 8 wins out of the first 13 races, he arrived at Spa-Francorchamps, one of his favourite tracks, ready for a challenge. Red Bull had decided to take his 4th power unit at this power-hungry circuit, which meant a back-of-the-grid penalty. But did that faze Max? Not in the slightest. On Saturday, Verstappen casually set the fastest qualifying time by 0.6 of a second, making everyone wonder if he even noticed the penalty looming over him. Thanks to a bunch of other drivers also taking power unit penalties, back of the grid ended up being 14th place for Sunday's race. Before even hitting the brakes for the first corner, Verstappen had already leaked up 2 positions. Not satisfied with that, he smoothly overtook Kevin Magnussen at La Source and Lance Stroll at the final hairpin, ending the opening lap in 8th. After a brief safety car period, Max carved through the field like a hot knife through butter.
Couple of car lengths between Ricciardo and Verstappen. That is getting overhauled quite substantially. Into the bus stop chicane we go. Max Verstappen started 14th, is now up into 6th place.
Alexander Albon, Daniel Ricciardo, Sebastian Vettel, Fernando Alonso and George Russell all succumbed to his relentless charge within 4 laps, putting him in 3rd by lap 8, only the 5th lap under green flag conditions. Next on his list was teammate Sergio Perez.
And Red Bull, this is where Max needs to be pumping in his best stuff.
As along the Kemmel Straight, Max Verstappen gets past his teammate Sergio Perez and Carlos Sainz,
who quickly found himself in Verstappen's rearview mirror. With leader Carlos Sainz Jr. in his sights, Max made his first pit stop and then breezed past Sainz to take the lead on lap 18.
Guess what? The DRS has been powerful. Guess what? I rather think Max Verstappen is about to retake the lead, and this time not because of any pit stop for the Ferrari, but because of the pace of the Red Bull. Here it comes, Max Verstappen into Le Comte chicane.
his ascent from 14th to 1st had taken just 36 minutes and a hair under 130 kilometers. From there, Verstappen was untouchable. 26 laps later, he crossed the finish line nearly 18 seconds ahead of Perez.
It's all well that ends well for Max Verstappen, who's sliding his way out of the final corner and taking the line, winning the Belgian Grand Prix for a second year in a row. It's a 9th victory. He got victory from 10th. Today, he's done it from 14th on the grid.
Congratulations. Awesome to drive.
Amazing Sunday, guys. Car was a rocket ship all weekend. Unbelievable.
And almost half a minute clear of the closest non-Red Bull competitor. It was a masterclass from a soon-to-be two-time champion, a signature win from the 2022 season, and a testament to why Max Verstappen is a force to be reckoned with in Formula 1. 2016 Brazilian Grand Prix. For a modern masterpiece in wet weather driving, look no further than Max Verstappen's incredible comeback at the 2016 Brazilian Grand Prix. This race was nothing short of a wet and wild roller coaster, and Max made it one for the history books. The race began under safety car conditions due to the torrential rain, with no green flag until lap 8. As soon as the track went live, Verstappen was on the attack, making a bold and perfectly timed move on Kimi Raikkonen for 3rd place.
Raikkonen, he might have a go here into turn 1. Verstappen on the inside of Raikkonen, catches the fin napping and moves up into 3rd place. Great move.
Things took a dramatic turn when the race was red flagged due to worsening conditions. Once it resumed, Max didn't waste any time. He swept past Nico Rosberg's Mercedes at turn 3, leaving the future champion in his wake. Verstappen was so far ahead that even when he had a near crash moment, sliding onto the pit straight, locking the brakes and somehow flicking the car away from the wall.
Max Verstappen, Max Verstappen! Can he keep it out of the barriers?
Just in time, he didn't lose his position. A pit stop for intermediate tyres briefly dropped him to 5th, then during another safety car period, he switched back to full wets. What followed was nothing short of spectacular. From 14th place, Max went on a tear. He made daring passes at turn 1, both inside and outside, and repeated his sweeping move at turn 3. He even pulled off 2 audacious lunges at other parts of the track. In one heart-stopping moment, Felipe Nasser nearly pushed him off, but Max, undeterred, swept by with one wheel on the grass. He later muscled past Sebastian Vettel, leaving no room for the 4-time champion. The grand finale came as he regained his podium position after a thrilling side-by-side battle with future teammate Sergio Perez. Now, let's dive into those races that Max Verstappen himself wouldn't brag about. Just so you know, we're cutting him some slack and skipping his rookie season. Everyone's got a learning curve, right? So let's continue and look at some of Max's less than stellar moments on the track. 2016 Belgian Grand Prix. Imagine 25,000 Dutch fans decked out in bright orange shirts, waving flags and lighting up smoke bombs. This was the scene at Spa for the 2016 Belgium GP weekend. These fans were all there to cheer on their hero Max Verstappen. During the pre-race drivers parade, Max was soaking it all in, tossing caps into the crowd and rocking a one-off helmet designed for his adopted home event. You could almost feel the energy radiating from his supporters. But did all that support and the pressure to perform get to the then 18-year-old? What followed was arguably Max's scrappiest performance since joining Red Bull. Starting on super soft tyres while most of his rivals opted for the softs, Max had a shot at leading from the first corner, but instead he suffered a wheel spin off the line, lost a couple of positions and decided he wasn't having any of it. In a bold move, he tried to muscle his way back by diving underneath Kimi Raikkonen at La Source, only to lose part of his front wing when Sebastian Vettel turned in on them both. A pit stop for repairs dropped him down the order. Then the safety car period and a red flag stoppage, which should have been his lifeline, only made things worse. During the stoppage, TV cameras caught Max re-watching the Turn 1 incident with his team, getting more and more fired up. By the time the race resumed, he was back in the car, angrier than ever. His frustration was evident. Max pushed Raikkonen and Sergio Perez off the track at Lescom and made some questionable moves on the Kemmel Straight, once again flirting with F1's code of conduct. In the end, an 11th place finish was all he could muster. On this day, home advantage turned out to be a bit of a curse for Verstappen, who fought a little too hard and paid the price. 2022 Brazilian Grand Prix. This weekend was one that Max Verstappen would probably rather forget. The Red Bull car was clearly struggling compared to the Mercedes, and George Russell managed to overtake the Dutch driver to win the sprint race on Saturday.
Centre S's round the curve of the Sol. What can Russell do this time? Doesn't look like Verstappen's got a great amount of grip. Getting onto that Retro-Imposter. They are wheel to wheel. Russell is now ahead and into the lead. George Russell is taking him 3 goes, but finally he gets past Max Verstappen.
By Sunday, the optimism in the Red Bull camp was as low as the Brazilian sunset. Starting from pole position, things quickly went sideways for Verstappen. Literally, during the safety car reset, Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton engaged in a heated battle at turn 1. Side by side they collided, causing damage to both cars.
Perez is looking to try and go down the inside of his teammate. Verstappen goes around the outside of Lewis Hamilton. Has Verstappen got ahead by the time they get to the next corner they touch? The Mercedes of Hamilton and Red Bull of Verstappen make contact here at Interlagos. Verstappen's got big damage to his wing and has Lewis.
Hamilton managed to continue relatively unscathed, but Verstappen had to pit for a new wing, losing precious positions as other drivers sped past. Adding insult to injury, the stewards slapped Verstappen with a 5-second penalty, blaming him for the collision. This sent him tumbling down the order, forcing him into a relentless climb back up the field. Despite his best efforts and some impressive overtakes, the podium was out of reach. Mercedes celebrated a 1-2 finish, with Russell securing his only pole finish of the season. Verstappen and his teammate Sergio Perez ended up in 6th and 7th respectively. In his post-race comments, Verstappen remained defiant, maintaining his innocence in the collision.
Go around the outside, but then I saw that he had no intention to give me space, so I had no intention to back out. So yeah, then of course we both went off. I had front wing damage, but you know, at the end of the day we were too slow anyway, so there was not really a lot that we could have done.
But deep down, you know this is one race you'd love to erase from memory. 2022 Singapore Grand Prix. Singapore was supposed to be Verstappen's playground. The driver had shown blistering speed in all conditions leading up to the race, but a nasty surprise awaited him. His car had been accidentally underfueled. Whoops! This error left him vulnerable and saw him plummet down the order. Singapore's street circuit is notorious for making overtaking as difficult as assembling IKEA furniture without instructions. Determined as ever, Verstappen pushed to make his way up the field. Things to be looking up when, during a safety car reset, he found himself in the top 6 on fresh tyres. But his fortune took another nosedive on the first lap after the restart. Lined up with Lando Norris, Verstappen overshot his braking point and ended up damaging his tyres.
The track has been drying all the while. Verstappen's really close into the back of Norris.
Max Verstappen locking up his brakes, and Max Verstappen goes straight on.
Spins it round and gets going again, but that was a massive lock-up, hugely late on the brakes for Verstappen.
A race that could have seen him on the podium turned into a desperate scramble from the back of the grid. He managed to salvage a few points with a 7th place finish, but it was a disappointing drive and a letdown from Red Bull on multiple fronts. Of course, you might have a different take. If you don't agree, feel free to drop your own picks in the comments down below and let the debate begin. But we can all agree on one thing: Max Verstappen is a phenomenal driver. So, curious about how he became the powerhouse he is today? Well, check out this video.